All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Oh, that was such a sorry good afternoon. Do people here know about call and response? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. I was going to say, are you going to be able to stay till the end of the day? You had so little energy when we started out. My name is Dr. Joan Reed. I am Dean for Diversity and Community Partnership at Harvard Medical School, and I want to thank you and welcome you for joining us today for this 9th annual Harvard-affiliated residency program showcase. It's part of our Office for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Partnership. And the mission of this office is to advance diversity and inclusion in health, biomedical, behavioral, and STEM fields that builds individual and institutional capacity to achieve excellence, foster innovation, and ensure equity in health locally, nationally, and globally. Today's program is part of our visiting clerkship program. And for 30 years, more than 30 years, the VCP, Visiting Clerkship Program, has been a model of offering outstanding medical students, particularly those from groups underrepresented in medicine, an opportunity to participate in externships at Harvard Medical School and its affiliated hospitals. Since its inception, greater than 1,700 students have participated in the program. The goal of today's event is to provide fourth-year medical students from underrepresented groups an opportunity to meet and network with Harvard-affiliated residency program training directors, attending physicians, fellows, and residents. It is our hope that all of you participating students will learn more about the residency programs that are offered here at Harvard-affiliated institutions through its interactive and informal settings. I sincerely thank the co-sponsors of the event and to those individuals from the various affiliated hospitals and residency programs who volunteer their time to meet with students today and to offer their advice. A special thanks to Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, its Office of Multicultural Affairs, Boston Children's Hospital, Office of Health Equity and Inclusion, Brigham and Women's Hospital Center for Diversity and Inclusion, Cambridge Health Alliance, Department of Internal Medicine, Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Harvard South Shore Hospital, VA Boston, Massachusetts Eye and Ear, Massachusetts General Hospital Center for Diversity and Inclusion, McLean Hospital Office of the Chief Academic Officer, and Mount Auburn Hospital Department of Internal Medicine. Today's program is being held in a hybrid format with over 500 students participating, 90 of whom you are joining us in person. Together, you represent over 150 US and Canadian medical schools across 45 states, provinces, and territories. We're also joined by more than 100 faculty, physicians, and residents from across our Harvard-affiliated hospitals who are looking forward to robust conversations about your interests and how they may align with the opportunities available in our Boston community. As we begin today's program, I have just a few housekeeping notes. This webinar portion of the Residency Showcase is being recorded and will be posted on our DICP, Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Partnership website, but the breakout sessions are not being recorded. For those of you joining us virtually, your chat and microphones have been disabled. While we will not be able to take questions from our virtual participants during this session, you will have an opportunity to ask those questions during the breakout sessions that begin at 4:15. Those of you who have joined us in person will have the opportunity to ask questions after the panel members have given their remarks. Just raise your hand and we'll bring you a mic. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Alden Landry, who's going to be the moderator for today's showcase. Dr. Landry is an emergency medicine physician at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center and assistant dean in the Office for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Partnership, and associate director and advisor for the Castle Society at Harvard Medical School. And with that, Dr. Landry.
Thank you, Dr. Reed, for the introduction. And honestly, thank you for the vision of helping us to craft this program. over 9 years ago, and helping us to continue to think about how we can innovate, move forward with bringing bright minds to our institutions through the form of the visiting clerkship program and now with the residency showcase. As Dr. Reed mentioned, this is our 9th showcase, and this is our first program in 3 years being partly in person. And I just want to say thank you to everyone being here in person. I got a little bit of butterflies this morning when I was getting ready for the day because I was unsure if people were actually going to show up. We've gotten so comfortable with the virtual life and being able to enjoy these sessions from the comfort of our own homes. But there's something to be said about this opportunity for us to come together in person and virtually through the hybrid component of our program, for us to interact, to have these conversations. And really, I want you all to take advantage of the next 2.5 hours for you to think about your career, meet these residents, meet these faculty members, see if you can identify mentors, see if you can identify role models, and see if you can envision yourself being a part of our residency programs. And so that's really the hope of this day. You're going to make a lot of contacts with folks throughout the next 2.5 hours. You're going to hear some really sage advice from the program directors, especially as you're putting the finishing touches to your ERAS applications. And you're also going to hear from residents, and you're going to hear from their experiences as they made that transition from 4th-year medical students to where they are today, regardless of whether they're interns or they're seniors in their specialties. Take advantage of those conversations with them. And then the last thing I would point out is this is an opportunity for you all to network among yourselves. I met with a handful of individuals who are applying in the ophthalmology and OBGYN and internal medicine and anesthesia. And I hope that you all meet and connect, make connections when it comes to getting advice about information from residency programs, what they're looking for, how they're exchanging information, and use that as an opportunity for you to build your network. I'm going to go through and do some of the formal introductions of the various hospitals because all those wonderful institutions that Dr. Reed mentioned, they sent individuals from their institutions to be here in person, to speak to you, to give their welcome, to encourage you to apply to the residency program. And for those individuals from the various hospitals, please keep it brief so we can make sure we stick to our agenda today. But I know you want to just tell them how amazing your residency programs are. So I ask you to keep it brief. I'll quickly introduce them as a group, and then I'll call them up individually for their opportunity to speak. So first is going to be Dr. Galen Henderson, who's a director of neurocritical care and neuroscience intensive care unit at Brigham and Women's Hospital, and he's also an assistant professor of neurology at Harvard Medical School. We also have Dr. Mary Lou John Baptiste, who is the director of minority affairs, medical director of health care for the homeless, Cambridge Health Alliance, and assistant professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. We have Dr. Danielle Ovechki, who is the diversity and inclusion officer for the Department of Medicine at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, and also an assistant professor of medicine here at HMS. We have Dr. Shiv Sarah, who is at Mount Auburn Hospital internal medicine program director, and is the associate chair for the Department of Medicine and chief of the Division of Rheumatology. We have Dr. Jocelyn Carter, who is the manager of training affairs for the Center of Diversity and Inclusion at Massachusetts General Hospital. And last, Amanda Grice, who is the program director for the Office of Health Equity and Inclusion at Boston Children's Hospital. And so first I will bring up to the microphone, Dr. Henderson from Brigham and Women's.
Thank you, Dr. Landry. You know, it is really wonderful being here. I'm so excited to see everyone here this afternoon. I wish I could have had this opportunity to participate in something like this, to get a chance to see what all is here within the Harvard Medical School system. As Dr. Landry mentioned, our training here, I think, is the best in the world, and this is definitely the place you should apply. Let me give you a couple of reasons why. You know, Boston is a very special place. And for those who are here today, fantastic. And hopefully you can spend a little time in Boston enjoying our fantastic weather and seeing some of our tourist sites. So it is a touristy city. We have sports, we have art, we have culture. And when we think of Boston, people have a lot of things that pop up. But if you think of California, you think of Los Angeles, or you think of Hollywood. When you think of Florida, you think of Disney or Miami, which are two different things. When you think of New York, it's either the theater life or Wall Street. But when you think of Boston, it is about education, medical education. And this is what we are known for. We are the educators of the world. We have the best training here. And I think it's just really important to be here. This is why I came here. Originally I'm a Southerner. I'm from Mississippi, and I went to an HBCU for college. And for medical school, I went to Brown, and I trained here for my residency in neurology and fellowship in stroke and neurocritical care here. And I never thought I would be here. I never saw my self here. I thought I would be an outsider here, but I found my place. And those who come here, I think they're all surprised at how they find their places, their spaces as well. And also with the things that we want to do with our lives. It's very rare. For me, I haven't heard anyone say this to other people either. No, whatever you can think of in regards to career trajectories, you can kind of shape and form here. Yes, we have our medical system with 12,000 faculty, but we also have MIT. We have all of these research institutes. We have biotech industries. We have pharmaceutical industries. We have so much right here within a 3-mile radius. That's just another reason to be here. I want to thank people for tuning in online, and because I also believe that for people who are applying in the fall, hopefully, and you all are or will be, it's just important to get across that this is a place that wants you, welcomes you, and when you're here, will support you in your career here. And I want you. I'm the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at the Brigham. I want you to stay on as faculty here to influence more people, more students like yourselves to come here. So I don't want to take up too much more time. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson, for that. And I think you're an example of what that means when you come to one of the teaching hospitals here. You stay on from residency to fellowship to faculty, and you're an example of. You mentioned, finding your place and feeling as if you belong. One of the things that both Dr. Henderson and I are a part of is the Black Men in Medicine group here at Harvard. We're the Augustus White Society, and the important reason why we have that is to build community. And you're going to hear that as a theme throughout the day of the importance of building community. Next, I want to bring to the microphone Dr. Baptiste, who's going to speak from Cambridge Health Alliance.
Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So my name is Marie-Jean Baptiste, as you heard, and I am a primary care doctor. I'm from Haiti, and I moved here after finishing my training in Haiti and was trained at Cambridge. And I'm going to tell you trainees why, what is it in Cambridge Hospital and what we have to offer. I want to tell you that CHA, we call it CHA because it has 2 acute care hospitals. One in Cambridge was about 262 bed, and the other one in Everett about 162 bed. CHA takes its pride in caring for the most vulnerable population, the immigrant population, the homeless population, and people with addiction and mental illnesses. We do it through team approach, team care-based approach, and also trying to know what is the community is about and to try to figure out what's the need of the community and try to, as a physician or a nurse practitioner, whoever it is, to try to adjust to that. I'm going to give you one example. I myself, as I tell you, I'm from Haiti, so I have an accent. And after my training, I started working as an attending, and my population was first a generation of immigrants. And knowing what it looked like, so it was very difficult for the patient to adjust. So instead of just staying in the room and then teaching them, I had to find other ways to go to meet the patient where they are. So that's why and a lot of us are doing different type of innovation. As myself, I've been doing radio on working with a non-profit organization to teach the patient about health. Because when they go to the office, they are lost. They don't know how to start and how to finish. So we also work with the homeless population. So it's not like Cambridge. Cambridge has a big center. In Cambridge, we have a small center, but I have to say it's multidisciplinary. Again, we have nurse working along with social worker, the psychiatrist, the medical student, the dentist, all come to meet the patient where they are. And they go, and we also do like street outreach. So as a trainee, you will have the opportunity to do those type of work. And uh, psychiatry is a big program. We have a lot of program going on psychiatry and addiction, and in the primary care program as well. So internationally, I don't want to say globally because last year I said that and people thought we're not there yet, but we have started. So we have been reaching to South America and also Brazil. And being Haitian, I felt that I have a duty to give back to my country. So the way I do it, I have a partner with a university in Haiti. And for the past 5 years, we've been bringing some of the students to visit and interact with the student and the staff. They are learning, but they're also giving back to the community here. And the idea is to have a bigger community so when our patients go there, they can get good care. So we also trying to meet the patient where they are. We also offer like language and culture classes. I myself and my small organization, we do that with Haitian Creole. Last year we had about, I think, 23 students online participating in that. I'm not going to stay longer. And thank you for giving me the opportunity. I wish that you have a good 2 hours.
Thank you, Dr. Jean-Baptiste. One of the things I would like to point out is we often think about the Harvard community as being these tertiary and quaternary care centers. But the reality is Boston has 26 community health centers and a handful over in Cambridge and the other surrounding communities. And many of those community health centers are affiliated with us. And so we definitely have touch points with the community, plus we have those touch points with tertiary and quaternary care as well as industry. So it's important as you think about sort of next steps in your career, where you can be in front of the patients, both for those really atypical conditions as well as the bread and butter things that our communities truly need when it comes to healthcare. Next, I want to bring up Dr. Danielle Ovechki from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Doctors Landry and Reed, for having me. My name's Danielle Olvetsky. I'm so delighted to be here and to welcome you to Boston and the Harvard Medical School teaching hospitals. So I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm the first doctor in my family. And my parents came to this country with nothing but a suitcase, and I never thought that I would be here at Harvard Medical School. Many times along the road, I thought God and I had miscommunicated and I had gotten the wrong memo. I can't lie. And so I'm really here for you guys that think that perhaps you're reading the wrong memo to really rethink it and know how much you are needed, valued, treasured, and desired by the future of medicine. We have so many problems that we need to address, and we can only do it with a group of diverse minds such as yourself. A quick word about my hospital. Beth Israel was founded more than 100 years ago to serve the discriminated against and those who couldn't get care anywhere else. And it's the joy and privilege of my life to design, implement, and evaluate the strategic plan of our hospital as we continue to live that mission, live that legacy. We don't have private floors, and most of our patients in private rooms tend to be those who have really faced trauma and do not have the emotional tolerance to have a shared room. And that makes me proud. Clinically, I'm a hospitalist, a geriatrician, a nocturnist. I'm there at 2 o'clock in the morning with pride, making sure that we are doing what we said we were going to do. and that we are holding ourselves accountable. We have 673 beds. We're going to get more with a brand new building. And really, we see ourselves as saying there's no need to compromise. We have academic excellence with a roaring heart of equity in every single thing we do. Multiple specialties, trauma one levels, like level one trauma center, everything. The new building is going to be amazing. But you know what I love the most? When I was asked to make a video, I said, I want to make sure you understand. I want to make sure we keep doing what we're doing, that our homeless patients, our most vulnerable patients will always have access to those private rooms. And I was reassured by the board that would be the case. And that's why I'm at BIDMC. But I will close by saying, guys, no matter where you go, this is a privilege to be a physician. I would do it all over again, go back to medical school and residency to do it all over again, to get to do what I do. Don't forget, think of your scalpel as a sword of social justice. My stethoscope is a sword of social justice. You have an incredible platform to change the world, and make sure that you pass on the gift of medicine that you're getting in a better condition than you received it. That is our calling. So thank you for coming to see us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Drs. Landry and Reed.
Thank you, Dr. Ovechkin, and thank you for that message. I'm glad you got the memo and you ended up here. And I think that's important for us to think about that feeling that some of us feel like we don't belong, that imposter syndrome that may be creeping into your mind. As we're having these conversations, hopefully that washes away. As you go into some of your the breakout sessions that we do, hopefully you can let down that guard and recognize that you are here, you're valued, you're supposed to be here. And just make sure that you get the most out of this today by not shying away from these opportunities to interact, but really embracing these opportunities to build your network. Next is going to be Dr. Shiv Sarah, who's going to be introducing Nara.
Thank you, Dr. Reed and Dr. Landry, for having me here. So I'm a residency program director. I'll also share that I did my internship in residency from the same hospital where I'm a program director now, from the same residency program. I took over the program in 2019, and I remember reading the first 4 applications, and it took me back to my time applying, which was about 14 years ago. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I thought at that time on what advice I would give myself if I could go back 14 years ago. So too late for me to invent a time machine, but if any one of you do, just email me and I'll. So I would tell myself, the application is very long. It's an anxious time. It's a difficult time, and it's okay. It's that way for almost everybody who applies, and I would just validate that for myself. So if any of you feel that way, it's me validating that, looking at the same application or a similar application that I had filled up many years ago that I was reviewing. I'll just read out that the Department of Medical Education at Mount Auburn greatly values the importance diversity and inclusion bring to academic discourse, training, and the provision of exceptional patient care. We celebrate the multiple dimensions of diversity each member of our community offers, including but not limited to race, ethnicity, sex, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, socioeconomic circumstances, national origin, geographic background, handicap status and disability, physical characteristics, veteran status, religious beliefs, and age. We at Mount Auburn continually strive to recruit and retain a diverse group of residents and faculty. A very warm welcome to everybody who's here, and I would request and I would ask you to apply to all our programs in the Harvard system. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Sarah. And if you have seen him before, he's done a number of our webinars that we host for the visiting clerkship program. We recognize that during the pandemic, we weren't getting students to come and rotate with us because schools weren't allowing it and the hospitals were closed. And so one of the things that we started within our office were a handful of webinars that we've recorded over the past now 3 years. Many of those are still documented online that you can go back and look, and you could learn more information about the application process to various residency programs. So be sure to check that out as a resource and share that with your colleagues as well. Next, I want to bring up Dr. Carter, who is going to be representing MGH.
Thank you so much, Dr. Landry, as well as Dr. Reed. And please excuse my mask. I'm in the throes of clinical care, and I'm just so excited to be here today and welcome you on behalf of MGH Equity and Community Health, as well as the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, our beloved resident and fellow committee, and of course, our 21 different residency training programs. The world is your pearl, and certainly this is an opportunity for you to learn as much as possible about the Harvard hospitals. And of course, we are so privileged to give you a sense of what your life would be like, not only in residency training program, but also, of course, moving into fellowship, faculty, and beyond. So the Center for Diversity and Inclusion has been in existence for over 22 years, and we've been working very hard as boots on the ground, trying to collaborate with residents, faculty, fellows, and residency faculty leaders in order to make sure that MGH functions simply as the most inclusive and inviting UIM community possible. We also have striven to serve as a shrinking force, if you will, for what has become a very large institution. Look no further than the 27% of UIM interns that we were able to welcome this academic year. And that investment really comes in the form of a number of different initiatives, including our summer research training program, where we invite medical students from across the country to spend a summer with us, as well as our career development liaison program, where we pair our UIM faculty with our UIM trainees for mentorship and coaching. In addition to our 4-year faculty development awards. And not to forget our residency stipend program, where we work hard to make sure that our underserved trainees who have potentially qualified by already getting fee assistance program relief or other forms of support are getting a yearly housing stipend. More to the point, we also want to make sure that we celebrate. So we have to get together at the beginning of each year at our welcome gala, as well as the end of each year at our graduation, to celebrate our stellar trainees and really tell them how much they mean to us. And, in addition to that, we also continue throughout the year to have our open houses and our resident and fellow, as well as our faculty socials. So more to discuss. While the MGH CDI, as well as the MGH Disparity Solution Center, and our policies that have guided us in providing dignity and respect to every individual, regardless of role and station that comes through our walls, have been in existence for decades. There's no one representing a hospital here that wasn't forced to look again in terms of the lens of oppression and disparities that we've certainly been presented with over the course of the last few years. Fortunately, we did have Dr. Joseph Betancourt, who took over the reins as our Senior Vice President of Community Health, Equity and Community Health, just before COVID began, that was able to guide us in providing the best possible care to our patients, our families, and our surrounding communities. Dr. Betancourt, by the way, sends his absolute regrets. He would have loved to be able to be here to meet each and every one of you, but please take advantage of the MGH residents, fellows, and faculty, as well as residency program leaders that are here today. We're so excited to speak with you and share more. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. And it's great that you mentioned Joe Betancourt. One of the things I want to comment on is I'm an attending physician in emergency medicine at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. But Dr. Betancourt is an internist at MGH. And even though we're at different institutions and different specialties, he's one of my biggest champions and biggest supporters, and he also is my mentor. And I think it's important for you all to realize that what coming to this institution offers is the ability to have that broad mentorship from individuals who may not be in your same specialty, may not be at your same hospital, but are still going to extend that olive branch to help support you and help you develop in your career. Before I bring up our last welcome from the hospital, again, I wanted to just recognize Dr. Reed and her vision for the DICP. And I also want to recognize the rest of the team from the DICP who's helped to put this event on. And there's a number of individuals that have been running around today, making sure that you all knew where the bathrooms were, you got your name tags, or you had any questions answered. But I just want to recognize Lynn Fulton John, who's standing in the back of the room. We worked tirelessly over the past few days to really make sure this program went off without a hitch. And I'm telling her it'll be fine. She wanted to pay attention to detail and make sure that we had everything needed. So thank you, Lynn, for everything that you've done. Last, I want to bring up Amanda Grice, who's going to represent Boston Children's Hospital.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Amanda Grice. I'm the Program Director for the Office of Health Equity and Inclusion at Boston Children's. And I want to welcome you on behalf of myself and also Dr. Valerie Ward, who is our Senior Vice President and Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, who could not be here with us today, so sends her regrets. Our hospital's work in health equity and diversity and inclusion has the support of our hospital's senior leadership to advance culturally effective pediatric care, to conduct research, to reduce pediatric health care disparities, to support an inclusive hospital working and learning environment, and to recruit, retain, and develop a diverse, inclusive workforce. Some of the intentional initiatives that we have at Boston Children's to advance this work include that we hold an annual pediatric health equity and inclusion symposium. We offer pediatric health equity grant funding for faculty, fellows transitioning to faculty. We are in our third year of an innovative pediatric health equity research fellowship. We offer statistical support for residents, fellows, and faculty who want to do collaborative health equity research projects with our Office of Health Equity and Inclusion and with our newly created Sandra L. Fenwick Institute for Pediatric Health Equity and Inclusion. And also we host a healthcare disparities research working group with faculty, residents, fellows, and staff. From all of this, I hope you can see that Boston Children's has a strong commitment to achieving a hospital culture that honors equity, diversity, respect, kindness, and most importantly, inclusive excellence. We're committed to supporting pediatric health equity and ending racism in medicine. Thank you for coming to Showcase today, and we look forward to working with you and sharing details of our training program. Thank you.
One thing that I didn't mention throughout all of this is the visiting clerkship program. You've heard of the numbers of students that have come and participated. Over 1,700 students over the past 30 plus years have come to do the visiting clerkship program. I'm a product of the visiting clerkship program as well as other pipeline programs affiliated with the DICP. And for any of those first year, second year, third year students who are in the audience, if you're interested in coming and doing a rotation with us, we have opportunities from May through November that come with a stipend to help with housing support. We offer mentorship while you're here, get you a meal, and have another opportunity for you to really sort of ask those pressing questions. And then also these visiting rotations are important because they serve two purposes. One, they're an on-the-job interview for you, but secondly, you get the insider look to our residency programs. And so for all of those first, second, and third years who are joining us both virtually and here in the audience, please consider coming and doing a rotation with us. The application information is online. The reason why I mentioned that is because the next person I'm going to bring up to the microphone is an alum of the visiting clerkship program, and they're going to moderate our session on our residency session. So Dr. Tolu Rashawo, can you come up? She is a third-year resident at the Integrated Research Pathway at the Boston Combined Residency Program at Boston Children's Hospital and Boston Medical Center. And as I mentioned, 2019 alum of the Visiting Clerkship Program. And she is going to lead us with our residency panel. And for all the residents that are going to be participating in the panel, why don't you all come on down? We'll do brief introductions and we'll kick it off.
All right, it's a real pleasure to be here, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I remember being literally in this room, and feeling all of the anxiety of when's ERAS is going to be submitted. I'm here in these Harvard programs. Can I be here? And I was coming in from the Midwest. I was at Case Western for medical school. I have no family in Boston, not really on the East Coast, and I found a family here, and I hope that we can answer your questions candidly. I have like a list of questions here, but if anything is burning, any thoughts that you want to share with us, we're happy to take those questions. And also we can talk offline, also in the atrium as well. So now, do we want to do some introductions first? So I want to just have everyone kind of go through the line, just share a little bit about themselves, and then we'll get started talking about Boston. So we can start all the way at the end.
Alrighty, can you guys hear me okay? All right, so my name is Carlos Aramayo. I am currently a PGY2 R1 resident at Mount Auburn Hospital in radiology. Originally from Peru, have been in the Northeast for about a decade now. Went to school at Brown for undergraduate and Dartmouth for medical school. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys a little bit more about what it's like to be a resident and delve into some more questions.
Hey everyone, I'm Andre. I'm a PGY2 general surgery resident at Mass General Hospital. Initially grew up in central Massachusetts, a small town called Grafton, right outside of Worcester. Then made my way, so I went to undergrad at Harvard, made my way across the country, med school at Stanford. Was interested actually in IR for a long time, and then decided to pivot to general surgery. I'm interested in pediatric surgery, really loved my rotation. Came back here for residency. If you have any questions about adjusting to Boston, I have lived on and off in Boston for the last 15 years or so, or around this area. And then obviously grew up in Central Mass. So feel free to ask any questions about that and we can help out. Excited that you're all here, welcome, and hopefully you have a good afternoon.
Hi everyone, my name is Amber. I am an intern in orthopedics right now. It says Brigham Women's, but we go Brigham, BI, MGH, Boston Children's, we're all over the place, love it. I'm originally from Rochester, New York. I did my undergrad at Cornell and then Columbia for medical school. As a fourth year student, I also did the VCP program here, so not far from y'all. Just a year ago, I was a sub-I here and I had a great time. Everybody should do orthopedics, but you probably all decided by now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kirsten Burks. I am a fifth year in otolaryngology at Mass Pioneer, but we also cover MGH and the Brigham, and we go to Children's for a rotation. I am originally from the Midwest. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. Went to Indiana for undergrad and medical school and decided to spread my wings and came here, and I'm so thankful that I did. I'll be heading to Minnesota for facial plastics and reconstructive surgery fellowship next year.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Diop. I am currently a palliative care fellow and it's through the Harvard program, so we're both at Mass General and Brigham Dana-Farber, also VA in Brockton. And I just graduated from internal medicine residency at Mass General Hospital. I was in the primary care track there. Then going back, I was born and raised in Boston. Then I went to New York for college. I was at Columbia in anthro major. So it took me a little bit of time to get into medical school, figure out what I wanted to do. And then I was at Brown for med school, also in a primary care population medicine program there. And then came back home, which I'm very thrilled to be back home and also part of the resident and fellow committee at MGH. So if you have more specific questions, work very closely with Jocelyn. And that has been one of the highlights for sure, and a huge reason why I wanted to go to MGH for residency. And I have lots more to say about that, but welcome for those in the room and those online virtually.
Awesome. And hello, I'm Chimo Nkemere. I'm from New Jersey, born and raised for the most part. I'm Nigerian and Trinidadian, so shout out to everybody. That and not that. Love it. I went to Rutgers for undergrad, med school. I'm also HBCU made. I went to Morehouse School of Medicine. I got my MBA at Georgia Tech because why not? No, because I like business. And I'm an anesthesia resident at BI, living the dream.
Amazing. And just to be complete, I was born in England. I'm of Nigerian heritage, and I went to University of Chicago for undergrad, and then Case Western for medical school. I came to Boston for 2 years as a Howard Hughes Medical Fellow, and that's when I first explored the city. And then I returned for residency, and I will be doing a chief residency at Boston Children's next year. I think many of us are outsiders coming into Boston. A few of us are born here, but that vast majority aren't from here. But Boston is definitely a city that is made of outsiders and people who aren't from here, and it becomes home. So I just wanted to just say that out loud, and also talk about how important location is. So, actually, I think Kate Michelson, our program director, told me this once, that when people make a decision about residency, it's really gut and location. It's like, do I want to live here? And how do I just feel about the place? And there are lots of data points that feed into that, but that's generally how we make our decisions. And I wanted to open it up to our panel to just answer this question about your experience about coming to Boston for training. Did you have any worries or concerns? What surprised you about your experiences?
Let's see. Yeah. Does anyone want to start this?
Yeah, so I can start. As I said, I'm from this area, was sort of aiming to come back here for residency. Surgical training is very long, and being near family is something that was important to me. My family is all kind of around here. So I was in a kind of different situation where I wanted to come back to Boston. But I do think that Boston has a lot of things to offer. As mentioned, I think it's some of the best, if not the best, medical training in the country or even the world. I think that the aggregation of kind of so many massive hospitals, so many health centers, so many different avenues that you can get involved in healthcare, serving underserved populations, research, industry, pharmaceuticals, biotech. It's kind of all here. So I think professionally and academically, this is one of the best places to be. And then I think, in residency, sometimes the training matters. Getting involved in some of the other things sometimes can be a challenge because of time. But one thing that you will definitely want is some sort of life outside of the hospital. If you don't have that, residency can be a little bit of a struggle. And I do think that Boston offers enough there. I know that a lot of people who come from New York or Philadelphia or Chicago, they're a little bit worried because Boston's a smaller city. But I do think it really offers a lot of sort of vibrant culture, things to do on the weekend that can, span a lot of different interests. There's always something to do here. I've started to become more involved in kind of these pop-up events that happen all over the place that showcase different aspects of Boston and what the city has to offer. So I think that it's a great city to be in. I wanted to come here. I think that maybe someone could offer a perspective of, they just sort of landed here and weren't necessarily thinking about it. That can, I think, sometimes be a good foil to this. But I do think that it's a great city to be in and a great city to train in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I came from New York City, so it was a bit different. Because in New York City, you don't have to look for the culture or anything. You just walk somewhere and you could find it. You happen to come upon it. So Boston, you have to put a little bit more effort, but it's fine because in New York City, my time went like this, right? So I don't even have that much time outside of the hospital to really get bored. So I always have something to do on the weekend. There's always good food. I remember one time I just happened to go to Somerville and they had this little Afro beats kind of day going on. And I was like, oh yes. I want all of the food. I was like, give me all of the rice. I'll take all of it. So there is stuff here outside of medicine that you can find and enjoy. It's just on a smaller scale if you're coming from someplace like New York or another big city. But it's there. It's a port city. So there are people from all over, whether they're speaking Russian or they're speaking Spanish or Creole. There's people from all over here that you get to interact with.
Yeah, and I totally agree with everything you both have said about Boston and living here. Being from Indianapolis, I think Boston in general just historically kind of has a reputation. There's a history of racism that our city, our country can't forget about. But being a part of something like this and having the support of so many people here in leadership roles is what makes being in a city that may have had that history just so different. It changes your whole experience. We've heard the word community, and it's the people, the leaders sitting in this room that have made this a community where people like us can come and flourish and succeed. And you know, we've come a long way, and so I would definitely consider Boston, and don't let the history of the city taint your opinion.
I think that's a super important part of, if anyone wants to talk more about that, you can reach out to us separately, because I do think that is a huge piece that sometimes people don't ask about because they're kind of afraid, or we may not bring it up. So thank you for bringing that up, because I think it is really important to just address head on. And then I think the other thing I wanted to add that often comes up is how expensive Boston can be. And a couple of things about that. It's expensive. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And I also live in New York, which is also expensive. And so the ways to go about that, there are certainly ways to live in different communities where the price is manageable. And I don't want to assume that, manageable is different to all, but there are ways to make it work, whether you are willing to have roommates, live a little further out from some of the hospitals. And I know at MGH, we have the housing stipend, which is huge. And so if any of these barriers are kind of in your mind, like, I don't want to go to Boston because of the either patient population, which we can also talk about, or just the population in the city or the cost of living, there are ways to make it work. And we've all done it. And I think with our salary and spending modestly, you can live comfortably and still be able to travel and do the things that make you happy, go out to eat. So expensive, yes. Doable, yes. And ask us more questions about how we did it.
I think I'm like, you guys just literally went into the next question, which is going to talk about money. And I don't think it is a thing to glaze over. I will say, I'm going to be very transparent. I have saved like a lot of money in residency, more than I like. Maybe I'll just tell you, I have saved $50,000 as a resident, which and I have fun. Like I went to see Into the Woods like in New York a few weeks ago with Fatima Miller and Fatima Sue, and it was like Flippa Sue. It was like, I do fun things, and so it's not like I have ramen every day and canned beans. And so like I think Boston is expensive, and also I didn't come in with like, I have loans. I have like $290,000 of loan debt. So it's not like I'm living like buying a Mercedes or something. And I'm really hoping there's loan forgiveness. I also have I have 3 roommates that I live with too, and so I live walking distance from the hospital. I don't live like in like in a river, nearby a river somewhere far away. So I think it's possible to have a life in residency, but all of us were coming in with like different financial pressures, right? I'm not married, I don't have children, I'm not trying to have a mortgage. So like we're all I can save money. I also there are a lot of people who are like financial advisors who like for free will advise you on how to manage your money as a resident and trainee. So you should take advantage of that. And if money is the only reason you don't want to come to Boston, please don't let that be the reason. Please, you talk to somebody. There's ways to get around it. There's ways to be supported and to like live well. So I just want to say that out there. Boston is expensive, and we want to put that out there. That please don't let that be the only reason not to come. I wanted to just speak a little bit more pointedly about like racism in Boston, and it's something every time like I tell people in Boston, like, oh, you live there, and more than a lot of places. And I've been trying to wrap my mind around that because I think obviously there's a horrible history of racism in this country and in Boston. But I lived in Chicago, which is there's a lot of structural racism there. It's the most segregated city in the United States. I've lived in Cleveland. It's 55% Black, but like one of the worst maternal health outcomes, I think, in the country for Black women. So racism takes different forms, and it's sinister, and it's in every place we'll find in the U.S. But I want to just talk about like kind of how you feel like as residents, you've experienced it as trainees here, if you've experienced it, if you ran into like situations that were kind of tough, and like how your programs or your communities were able to support you through those situations. I know it's just not easy.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead. Sure, I can jump in. Again, Chima. So I feel like racism, two faces of it, inside and outside the hospital, right? I'll start with outside the hospital, just because Boston at large, right? I wouldn't say overall. I just moved from the South. Just like background information, came from Atlanta. Atlanta is not the South. Atlanta is Atlanta. And then Georgia. Being in Georgia, where racism is thriving, it's a very big difference than the Boston experience. I feel like I haven't experienced any extrinsic racism like I did in the South. Sure, prejudice is prevalent, right? Between people just being afraid of me, walking to or from work in my scrubs, with my badge, with whatever. I could have my stethoscope in my ears, and people would be like, oh, let me move out of. Like I literally had a lady that was in front of my prior apartment complex as I was coming home from work, and like she had her daughter, and I was trying to get past her, like, you know, politely, and like she turned around, shrieked, and like grabbed her daughter, and I'm like, right, because I'm going to do something to you as I go to sleep after my 24 as a dolly, you know. I would say that's probably the most like emphatic experience I've had. Otherwise, it's just, you know, subtle nuances where I can just feel people are uncomfortable with me every now and again. But I haven't had anything extrinsic. I haven't had anything aggressive. I haven't felt uncomfortable or unsafe. Of course, a lot of that has to do with the company that you keep, right? And the places that you go. So I wouldn't say I've been comfortable. I'm happy. I've been out and about, no qualms whatsoever. Yes, they have those microaggressions, if you will. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy. I can't say that I've had bad experiences at large, and I say that as just context as a Black male, which can be scary for some people. Inside the hospital, I haven't had any problems actually. Yet alone from staff, faculty, whomever. I think maybe only on one occurrence was I going down to see a patient when I was in it might have been either on the floors in the ED, and I was talking to the patient, lovely person, but then her like son was like, yeah, no, we got our food already, and you can take out the trash as well. And I was like, got it, sure, totally happy to do that after I'm done assessing your mother, sir. And he was like, you're the doctor. I was like, indeed, sir. But otherwise, I don't think I've had anything that I can really write home about. Other people, sure, I've heard of some other experiences of different races, but I've been okay. I'm happy to be here.
But I'm a few months into it. The more like out there experiences I've had are with patients who will say something either really disrespectful, frankly, it kind of hurts still with me, but other times it's just like they say something to acknowledge the fact that I'm Black, and they're like, oh, I have a friend, or I love braids, like only Black people should wear braids. Like it's weird, and I'm just like, okay. For myself, like I talked with mentors at medical school. I was like, so how do I introduce myself? Like every time I go into a room, I'm Dr. Parker. So I think that's something important to make sure you do, especially young doctors. But still, they'll be like, oh yeah, can you take this tray out for me? Or they'll think I'm PT or their nurse or something else, even though it says Dr. Parker here. I said I was Dr. Parker. And you kind of just have to, keep rolling with it. And you say, I can't do that for you, but I can find the person who can help you with that. But it is a lot of subtleties, I will say. It's like, oh, they'll always ask me, not my like taller white male counterparts, where did I go to school? And I'm like, well, I went to Cornell, Columbia, and now I'm at Harvard. And they're like, oh, you're such a smart girl. And I'm like, thank you. Or, sometimes you'll be shocked that I know things. And it's like, is it shocked because maybe it is a step in advance? Maybe I'm thinking at a PGY 2 or 3 level, or is it just you didn't think I knew anything and I just happened to be here? So it can be tough, but I will say in the program I'm in, if I go to any of my seniors, any of my attendings, they have my back. They'll go talk directly to a patient if they said something rude to me. Um, and I think that's what you have to look for when you're looking for your residencies. So, it happens here, but I think it would happen anywhere. I was in the city, New York City, and things happened to me there too. So it's an unfortunate part, but I've had a lot of Black patients that I've interacted with that are so happy to see me. My first patient I did like a clinical interaction with as a doctor, I come back and she's like, wow, that's the nicest doctor experience I've ever had. And I was like, yes, we're doing work here. Like, that's what I'm here to do. So, it is what it is, but we keep going.
Love that. Also, these are just great tips, I think, for how to like combat just kind of negative behavior. And you're going to experience this no matter where you train. I just want to put out there, sorry. But how to respond in a way in which that's dignifying to you, uplifts yourself and also the other person, and shows them like how they're in the wrong in a way that's respectful. I think it's really important when you're looking for a residency program to make sure that there is like a bias reporting system, one that protects you as a trainee. It's important to see like, how am I being evaluated? And like whenever we have like actually like a task force within our residency program to like go through feedback that residents get and to see like, is this feedback point, is it specific? Is it general? Is it based on just, oh, like they could just read more, or they don't seem very confident and it's not really grounded in anything. Because that can get in your head, and you really, right now, your job is to take care of patients and not to be doing some calculus about like, how am I being perceived by others. Thank you guys for talking about that. I know it's not like an easy thing to bring up, but I'm very candid, and we can talk more outside. And I think depending on your specialty, if you're in orthopedic surgery, which is often like a white male dominated field, you're going to experience like a lot of these things. And in pediatrics, I've experienced it a little bit less, probably. I don't know, I'm assuming, but you'll get a sense for what field that you're in. The next thing I wanted to talk about, if we could, is just tips for applications. So like kind of the final touches, and kind of what recommendations do you have for applicants as they're finishing up their ERAS applications? And is there anything you would have like done differently in your application?
I can start because I'm a procrastinator, so I'll model not procrastinating by jumping in. Don't procrastinate. It's as simple as that. Seriously, especially with the personal statement. For any of the third years in the room, or even first or second years, just start thinking about it without any pressure. Just thinking about, who am I as a person? Who do I want to be as a human doctor? What's salient to me? What are the points that I want to get across? What cases, patients have I seen that have really stuck with me, that have shaped the way I think about medicine? So just start thinking about that, and even like create a little Google Doc that you can keep adding to, or keep it on your phone, so that when it's a month or two away from application season, you're not rushing, because those who are writing letters for you are going to want to read it, which means it has to be done in some form prior to when you ask for letters. I would also say, I think, we've done a lot of training so far and have produced a lot, but little things you don't want to have happen, like grammatical errors. So definitely have people read your entire application, not even just the personal statement, but you have all these sections on ERAS where you have to add your activities and whatnot. And you want to give also people enough time. So organize yourself so that it is in a complete form where you're proud of it. It doesn't have to be perfect though. It's a draft for a reason. It's not the final product. But don't just assume, oh, the personal statement is the only thing I need feedback on. And you can ask like a friend even to read it, someone not even in medicine. Like, does this make sense? And keep things short and sweet. Sometimes too much can be a bad thing, especially in the activity section. And program directors can tell you more. They're reading many applications. And so you just want to get across the most important parts of you so that someone can see the entire you. So lots more to be said about that. We'll see what others have to say.
I want to second that by saying that I think you want to make sure that by the time you submit your application, you feel good, about the story that you've put together. I think you want to make sure that it rings true, that you don't find yourself feeling like you're misrepresenting yourself. And just have peers, advisors take a look at it. They'll be able to see through any fluff and give you advice as to oh, this will, if you have experiences that are dating back to 10 years, maybe that's not as helpful as, more longitudinal things or aspects of your application that really tell your story and reflect your medical community.
I also, these are just sage advice right now. I also want to be mindful of the time. I know we started a little bit later and I want to just check to see how we're doing. Should we, how much time do we have? Should I wrap it up or?
Take another 5-7 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Short answers.
Perfect, great. I want to make sure we get through it as much as we can. So I know there's so much wisdom here and I want to just jump to a few other topics as well. I wanted to also ask kind of, how did you guys decide on your program? And like, were you like weighing other places and like kind of what was your like deciding factor?
Yeah, so I can jump in. So as been talked about a couple of times, I was really a kind of location first person. So I was very heavily considering all of the Boston programs and area, so programs throughout the Northeast. I think in every field, there will be some range of programs in terms of a lot of different facets, I'll say. So for example, in surgery, I was considering, do I want to go to a major academic center or do I want to go to a community center? The training looks very different. What your sort of career outlook and how comfortable you feel practicing day one as an attending sort of changes, whether you want to apply for fellowship or whether you want to sort of go straight into general surgery. Those are all different things that I was considering as sort of a long-term, this decision will matter. Obviously, depending on your situation, it can sort of, you can adjust midway if you need to. But trying to think about those things early to set yourself up for a career that you want to have and sort of make it a much more natural progression. So those are all things that I was thinking about. And then I think the culture fit is a thing that is very hard, especially in virtual settings, to feel out, but is something that's very important. I think that if you have a culture fit with your program, if you fit in with the rest of the residents, your life will be so much easier. Your training will be so much easier, and you'll just be a better doctor, I think, during your residency program. Obviously, you do residency partially to train, but you're also a critical sort of part of the care team. You really are the boots on the ground taking care of patients. And so putting yourself in a situation to be the best doctor you can be during your training, I think is super important.
Yeah, to piggyback, just to encompass everything, know thyself, right? I can't say that enough. Know yourself, know your application, know what you want. If you can, think about it, like figure it out, because that'll help you both in your application, both for the program that you want to go to. Why do you want to go there? What about it, right? Instead of kind of scrambling last minute and trying to figure out, oh, let me go on their website. And, oh, what do they stand for? Oh, I see that they do underserved. Oh, I love underserved people. Like, no. Like, think about what you want, right? Because then it makes it easier. So when you do come across those programs, you're like, oh, they check the boxes of what I'm looking for, right? For my career professionally, that's huge. That is so important for your own goals, right? It's hard to think about because you're kind of just running this race of healthcare, right? Got to be a doctor, got to go to med school, and you're done. And then all of a sudden, it's like all these residency programs are here. And what do I stand for? What do I want? What am I thinking about in my career? 5-10 years, right? I'm just going to be a doctor. Okay, what type of doctor? What setting? What do you want to do? So it's so important, so crucial. And I really just, I love that. So I want to bolster that as well. That really makes a big difference in how you choose your programs.
And I will say the checklist is super helpful. And I had my checklist and then I still had this huge thing called fear, especially coming here to the Harvard system. I'm not from here. I didn't think that I could make it here. One of my advisors was like, that step one score, and I still to this day remember she circled it, and it was just not a pleasant interaction. And so having that fear of the unknown, fear of a whole new system, fear of leaving your comfort zone. I love my med school, and I could stay there forever and be really, really happy. And I just want to really say to all of you, like, don't let the fear of coming to a new place, of coming, if Harvard, you ultimately feel like it's the place for you, don't let that fear of the reputation, of what you've heard, assumptions can be a deadly, deadly thing. So don't let any of these misperceptions or things you've heard floating around stop you. So I think for me, that was kind of the last piece in my, how am I going to pick my program? Can I really make this leap to this system? I am beyond grateful that I am here, and I stayed for fellowship for many reasons, but I just wanted to kind of give you all that permission to just like cross out that fear and like throw it away, and that imposter syndrome, because it's real. I still have it. I don't think it's ever fully gonna go away. But I think the more we talk about it and the more we lean on our mentors, it really helps you to believe in yourself and everything that you're ready to accomplish, and that you are meant to be where you are. And just if one door closes, it doesn't mean it's the end. It means another is going to open, and you just have to have faith in that.
Honestly, that what a beautiful way to, I think, close out this panel. And I just thank all of you for coming and post call, pre call. We appreciate it.
I want to say thank you again to our moderator and our panelists. Thank you for your time. I know it's brief. I know you have a ton of questions. Many of our panelists are sticking around for the breakout sessions that we're going to have for the different specialties. So you'll be able to talk with them. But I think we want to make sure we keep progressing with our program. And I want to bring up our program directors. So if you can start making your way down in the interest of time for the program director panel. Dr. Rachel Stark is going to be moderating our program. She is representing us from Cambridge Health Alliance and will be our moderator, and she will take the floor and introduce the rest of our panelists.
Hi, everybody. Should we try again? Hi, everybody. So happy to be here. This is one of my favorite events of the year. And it's so nice to see everybody in person. I'll let our group assemble. And as they do, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Dr. Rachel Stark. I'm the residency training director for the internal medicine training program at Cambridge Health Alliance. And I guess we're gonna entertain some questions from the perspective of program directors as we enter interview season. And we are all really well aware that ERIS opens for us as program directors the last week of September. So those dates are melded in our minds too. Before we get started, I think I'll just have our panelists kind of go down the line. Why don't we start at the far end, and you can each introduce yourselves and say what program and institution you're from.
Sure. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Huma Fareed, and I'm the Associate Program Director for the OBGYN Residency at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Vias. I'm the Residency Program Director for Internal Medicine at the Mass General Hospital.
Hi, everyone. I'm Don Romanelli. I'm the Program Director for the Radiology Residency at Mount Auburn Hospital.
Hi, everyone. So nice to see all of you. I'm Kate Michelson. I'm the Pediatric Residency Program Director for the Boston Combined Residency Program.
Hi, welcome. My name is Dan Egan, and I'm the Program Director for the Emergency Medicine Residency at Mass General and Brigham.
Okay, thanks everybody. So I have a list of questions that we'll sort of try to go through, and I recognize that some of our answers are going to overlap just from the perspective of being program directors and program leadership in general, and some of our answers are maybe specialty specific. But I will just sort of start with, how do each of your programs handle holistic review of applications?
I can start with that. We've actually been doing holistic review for a number of years, and we feel that it's a really important aspect to truly understand the applicants who apply to our program, to give them the consideration they deserve, and to have a diverse class of interns. And so we look not only at step 1 scores, and I've actually spoken to quite a few students who, unfortunately, I think one of the panelists earlier spoke about a step 1 score that was viewed as too low. And so we actually don't have a cutoff for step 1 or step 2 scores. We just ask that you pass. And we really do look at things like, what you've done in terms of leadership, what you've published, what you've presented at conferences. And also we do consider what we loosely term as like resilience or grit. Your life experiences that shaped you, that have made you who you are. We want to hear about those, want to know about those. And partly that's because, yes, we want a diverse residency program, but also because each of us are unique individuals who've been through different things in life. And residency is very challenging no matter which residency you do. And if you've had experiences in your life that demonstrate resilience and grit, you will have some mechanisms and some ways to cope with the challenges of residency.
I agree with all of those things. I'll just add a couple things. One is that I think that we oftentimes have more than one person look at the applications, recognizing that there's going to be inherent bias when we have screening process. And so we want to ensure that we actually have more than one pair of eyes that are looking at our applications. And we also look really and want to amplify this stuff, that distance travel, and recognizing that there is a number of different attributes that we know that individuals will bring to the programs, and we want to make sure that we're looking at all of those things. So we too also do not look and focus on a specific score. We've done our own internal work, both at our own institution, and have shown that USMLE scores actually don't correlate at all with performance as a resident or even beyond our residency. And even if you talk to the people who made the USMLE, they'll acknowledge that it was never meant to be used in that way. But yet it has moved in that direction, and I congratulate the board for moving to pass fail.
I can echo what was just said too. On a couple of points, in the pediatric residency program, we've been doing holistic review for a long time. We're really looking for leaders and wonderful people. And to do that, we don't use any filters, and we really look to understand who people are and the stories that have led them to applying to our residency and what they're passionate about and what they want to do with their careers. We also have every application read by multiple people. And we read every line, which is why we send out our invitations, I think, last of maybe all the pediatric residency programs. But we're really looking line by line to understand what's important to you and to try to capture that as we prepare to bring you to campus virtually and be able to think about what you're interested in and excited about and who would be nice to meet.
Great. I'll just, I think, echoing everything that has been said, I'll share with you something. I am taking part in a course with the ACGME called Equity Matters, and there's a quote that was shared in the beginning that has, I think, really become my sort of motivational theme with reviewing applications, which is that the opposite of inclusion is not exclusion, but the opposite of inclusion is incomplete. And I think that really just captures the entire essence of what it means to be a holistic and to really think about diversity within a program which represents all sorts of elements. And so I think it's the intangible qualities, the distance traveled, and really a lot of times the story that's shared in the personal statement, which I think impacts us thankfully much more than it did 10 years ago, and really becomes a really critical part of the review of the applications.
Thank you, everyone. Quickly, just from a slightly different perspective, I'm a radiology program, and Mount Auburn's a small hospital, one of the smallest ones in the Harvard system. We take 3 residents a year, so in some ways, we've always done holistic in part because we had to do holistic reviews. We don't have as many applicants, and it was easier for us to do because we don't have as many applicants just based on the size. I will say last year we had more than 700 applicants for 3 slots, so it does become a real challenge, but we read every line of every single application.
I think there's, just to add, same color to what you've already heard, is that I think as students, there's a real sense of feeling depersonalized and dehumanized in this experience. You should work really hard to capture yourself in this application and just sort of hit press send, and it goes somewhere into an electronic vortex, and out on the other side a few weeks later, thankfully you'll have some interviews, and you wonder kind of what happens in that gap. And I think what you're hearing from other program directors, and what I'll say on behalf of my program as well, is that we really try to keep the student and the person in the center of the process, and very much know how hard you have all worked and how hard you have all the accomplishments that you've had and how important those are. And we want excellent students at our residency program. We are nothing if not for our residents. So we invest a lot of our time and our effort and our passion into the process of recruitment for our residency programs, because we want excellent students with excellent experience and who have tons of excitement and joy and want to bring a lot of themselves to our programs. And that's why you're hearing people actually do read your application line by line, because it really matters to us who you are. Along the lines of the application process, I know in internal medicine, we piloted supplemental applications through ERIS last year. I'm not sure what the status of supplemental applications are for the other disciplines, but do any of you want to comment on how you'll be using supplemental applications in your reviewing process?
This is our first year in radiology using it, so I don't have personal experience. I can say that if you signal that you're interested in our program, I'm almost certain that we'll spend extra time looking at you. I just think it's human nature. But I think I should let the other people talk because they probably have more experience. Internal medicine did it last year.
Yeah, we didn't participate last year and we are not participating again this year. We're still waiting for some additional data to show that it does have a value added and impact. I worry, I will say personally, about the added work that goes into it, and there's an opportunity for a lot more of that to become almost an arms race in terms of the amount of work that needs to go into it. And so that's part of why I've been reluctant to have our program engaged.
We don't have anything like that for OBGYN yet.
Okay, so I will add that in internal medicine last year, quite honestly, from the program director's perspective, I found it very cumbersome and did not, I sort of looked at it for the first couple of days I was reviewing applications, and then I stopped looking at it because I did not actually find that it was value added in any way. And I wanted to be sure that there was nothing about that process that disadvantaged one student over another from the viewpoint of the program. So we actually didn't even open it or use it. I'm not sure if they're making changes to the system this year, but I think a lot of colleagues, as you've heard, didn't find it a particularly useful experience in medicine last year. So moving on to the actual application, how can you each talk, or a few of you talk a little bit about how you actually use the MIS-P for application review?
Maybe I could start. We think that there's an opportunity to see a number of ER performance in a variety of different things, not just internal medicine, which obviously we'll focus on, but many of the other ones. And we're also interested in the sequence in terms of how you took it. We recognize that when you first start in clinical medicine, that there's a little bit of a ramp up phase. That's essentially, when you're starting in clinical medicine, you're sipping from a fire hose, and we recognize that your first rotations may be your experience and your performance there may be different than what you've done later on. And so we want to see that arc over that course of time and want to be able to get a sense of what's there in the MSP. And that, for us, that's oftentimes quite helpful in terms of trying to identify what your trajectory is, because we've heard a lot about distance travel, a lot about, we recognize that, I would say that it's wonderful when we see students have had challenges, right, in a variety of different domains. And it's about how you've overcome those challenges or address those challenges and the resilience. And you heard a little bit from Huma about the grit part. That part is what we're looking for in that those are the things that I think really bring a lot of richness to the application.
I would agree. I think the trajectory of how people perform is really helpful, particularly as you move into some of the more senior rotations in fourth year when you're sort of closer to that intern level. I also enjoy, for many of the schools, the sort of opening introduction portion where they've kind of highlighted the things that they find to be most meaningful about you as a person and your experience in their school and the impact you've had on the school. And I think that helps us identify people who have leadership potential and really been good citizens and really members of the community of the school, which is obviously something we all want in someone who's going to make our residency community even better.
And we also look at the trajectory. We also appreciate the part at the beginning that describes most important contributions to the medical school and leadership there. We are careful, though, there's often things that aren't captured there that are not necessarily school facing or in different places. And so that is very apparent to us. We also have all of our readers trained about the bias that exists in MSPEs and evaluations too, because I think they're very useful, but they also need to be interpreted in that context. And so that is a part of the preparation our teams get as they look at those as well.
Thank you. We heard a little bit in the resident panel, personal statements were mentioned, and there was some peer or near peer advice around personal statements. So I'm just wondering, as students are in this room and out in the hybrid world are probably putting final touches on their personal statements, do you as program directors have any advice about that?
What we always say, although this shouldn't at all make you go back and do anything at this point, I think probably the great majority of the personal statements we get are why peds, and they describe their journey to pediatrics, which is so important and often really illustrates their experiences in medical school and before that. But we really believe you that you're excited about pediatrics, even if you don't write why peds. So this is more a statement, leave it if you have a why peds, don't change it. But if you are thinking about sharing a little bit more about who you are and your background, or the most important thing you did before medical school or outside of medical school, your loved ones, what you're most excited about doing in your career, lean into that. We love those personal statements so much. And so if you're there, feel empowered to submit it. If you're thinking about adding those, please do. We love those parts of applications.
Yeah, I would second that. In radiology, everyone's a visual learner. And if you're a visual learner, put it in there. Don't change it. It's fine. But you don't stand out by saying that, right? So I totally agree. Like, we want to know who you are. Like, everything. We have all these data points in your application. There are so many. All the research you've done, where you went to school, all the test scores, all this stuff. This is your chance to frame yourself. Who are you? Tell us about you. And draw us in if you can. I mean, good writing is hard for lots of us in science, but I mean, draw us in, start off with something interesting, pull us in, keep it to one page. And I also thought, and I thought that the resident who said, have someone else read it, that's a great idea, because you go over it and over and over it, and you'll miss something, and someone else will read it and go, this doesn't make sense, or you should have put a comma or whatever it is. You don't want to stand out for the wrong reason on your personal statement. And the last thing else, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. The last thing is be careful with humor. I've seen people try to put things that are funny, and you got to know your audience and what's funny to you, and maybe some of us might be insulting or at least not funny to someone else. And I had an applicant who said they wanted to go into radiology because they were up all night in surgery, and some patient went to have a CAT scan, and they said the radiologist wasn't tired. He was sitting there, he was dressed in a tie, he had slept all night. I want to go into radiology. And I know that's funny, but for us in radiology, that's borderline insulting, because we work very hard. So be very careful about. I'm an interventional radiologist. I'm up all night doing cases not infrequently. And I read that and I went, I don't think this person knows what they're getting into.
I just wanted to amplify, and I'm going to look at Michelle Diop, who is one of my alums in my program, to see, because I spend a lot of time with my senior residents as they're going through writing their fellowship applications. And so we have a slightly different version about that. But one of the things I've oftentimes said to all my residents when they're writing their own personal statement for fellowships is to share it with your friends. I wanted to amplify that part, but really to see if your friends can see you in it, right? Because I think what you really want to be able to do is to recognize that this isn't just a Mass General Department of Medicine senior resident who's writing this, but it's actually, it's actually the person right there. And you want to be able to make sure that you can feel that person. And the best folks to judge you on that are your close friends. And they can really help you and see if you are in that personal statement.
I love that. And I would just say, I think of it as a personal story rather than a personal statement. And if you can approach it from that mindset, I think it really helps to sort of just paint the picture of who you are. Again, with that same caveat, though, just don't go back and rewrite everything with 2 weeks to go if you've not done that.
I think students also try to when they're not sure what to write in the personal statement, and it's really not so obvious when we're all saying the personal statement is personal, write something about you, and understanding that you may all have writer's block about that. Recapitulating your CV and all of your accomplishments, we know that. We just told you we're reading every line of your application. So make it worth it for us to be reading that personal statement, because it has something about you that we won't know anyplace else in your application. It doesn't necessarily have to be the mystery that's unlocked on that one piece of paper, but it should be additive. It should add color. It should illustrate something. It should be a narrative. It should have your motivations. It should have your the things that get you up in the morning to do this work and training. It should be a story that's affected your life, something that really helps us get to know you. I'll tell you that in our process at CHA, we read the personal statement first. And I'm hearing the same at Beth Israel is happening as well. So that's the place that I go as the program director to say, like, who is this person? What makes them tick? did they have the same stuff and the same values and the same things that my residents in my program and my faculty in my program have? Are we aligned in this way? Is the fit right? And that's the, if I'm not sure, I'm going to keep reading, but that's the place where it's the hook. Wow, this person's really exciting. I can't wait to read the rest of their application. Any other thoughts about personal statements before we move on? All right, so we'll move to interviewing. I know the students in the room are not quite there yet, but you're imagining the day in which that will happen. So I'm wondering, we're not new to virtual interviews this year. We've all had probably a few years under our belts doing virtual interviews. So is there any special preparation that your programs do for interviewers in the virtual interview process, and or anything in terms of special considerations for students as they do their own preparation for virtual interviews?
So everybody who spends time on our recruitment committee has to go through unbiased training, unbiased conscious training, because we think that that's mandatory. We also go through some additional training on in terms of how to look at the applicants and what are the questions that you can ask and what are the questions that are not permitted to ask. So we really do encourage to make sure that, and you should recognize that there are specific questions that you shouldn't be asked during the interview process. I will also say that even though it's very convenient to do virtual interviewing, it's probably equally draining. So in the sense that I think you'll recognize that there's a sense of fatigue after you start to do your 10th or 15th interview from that process. And I will just say, we don't pay any attention to what's going on in your background. If we hear the dog barking or the doorbell ringing or those things, we just recognize that that's part of life. And I know that that might be mortifying to the student because they didn't realize that the utility company was going to be drilling on the street that day. It doesn't matter to us.
Just to add to that, the first year of virtual interviewing, I had 2 kids and school was closed and they Zoom bombed every single day. I was so mortified, but it gave us like a lighthearted thing to talk about. Like, oh, here are my crazy children. Thank goodness they're closed. But, but I think just being comfortable, we do also have all of our faculty and residents who are interviewing take an implicit association test and read articles about bias. And I don't know how many other OBGYN programs do this, but we sort of have like formulate questions that we ask that are the same questions that every single applicant gets asked. And I think in some ways that eliminates bias because everybody's being asked the same 5-10 questions by different people, obviously, but everybody gets asked those questions. And then obviously that's like a doorway to asking about your life and who you are, but the opening remarks are always sort of the same. And then for students, I would say choose a place that's comfortable. I think all of us are looking very professional, like from the waist up, but just wear like socks and something comfortable. But I think just being comfortable and making sure that your internet connection is stable, that you have good lighting, and that you're in a place where you, again, just the comfort is really key, because if you're uncomfortable and you're distracted, it's going to show up in the interview.
We do a lot of the same. I will say our residents play a big role in our interview process. We have two faculty and 2 residents interview you if you apply to our program, and so and a lot of those, Carlos will do it this year. He's the first year. He haven't done that before, so we will start with some training. We do implicit bias training. We take those tests as well. But I think it's we have found that there are some questions that you can't ask that was already mentioned, and we try very hard to make sure people don't ask those questions. I think if you get asked those questions, you need to let the program directors know, because we don't know if people are asking those questions, and we can't correct it if you don't tell us. In terms of what you should do, yeah, I agree. I mean, look professional. We understand if you get interrupted. We understand if you have children who are coming into the room and stuff. It's actually, in some ways, I think it adds a little bit, because we see a little bit more about, don't do it on purpose, but but it does add. It sort of makes you more human, and we see the struggles that you're going through too. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
In pediatrics, a kid in the background is always very I echo everything. We have bias training. We have people review really important articles from the primary literature about disparities in applications, but also experiences, so that there is an awareness of what really matters for interviewers and interviewees and the experiences. I echo what everyone said. We are always really nervous on our first day. Every single year, we over prepare. We love getting together as a leadership team to welcome people and to talk about why we love the program. And our energy is probably a little bit too high on that first day, and hopefully it settles over the course of our interview season. We try really hard to showcase what we love and to demonstrate virtually, which it's hard, what is special about the program. We have our rising chiefs actually join the day, so that you as a fourth year student are seeing the people who would be your chief residents, which we think is a part of the special sauce of our days. And I would say as a interviewee, really enjoying the process. I think you think a lot of residents have this incredibly articulately. You are preparing as you start interview season, what matters to you and what are you going to be about. And I think that is really important. Even if you do that really well, I guarantee you that over the course of the interview season, that will flex and form even more, because there's something really powerful about virtually traveling the country and talking about yourself and what you love to do and hearing about other people's career paths. It's a really special time. And to enjoy that, even though it is very exhausting at times, I think you learn about yourself in the process in a way that is sort of a secondary outcome, separate from learning about programs, but it is not totally replicated outside of like really important mentorship relationships, I think, until you think about fellowships and jobs. And again, you're going through this, what do I want and what do I care about? And so to try to treasure those parts of the process as a really important sort of milestone every several years in medical training.